Hi, everybody. This is Tim Johnson on Peoria Life. We're in the neighborhood. Hi, Stacy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Tim?
Doing well. We're welcoming Andy King from the Dream Center today.
Hi, how are you doing, guys?
Good, thanks. We over the last 6 months, it seems like every other
Guest.
guest that we've had in says, "Have you had the Dream Center on? You really need to have the Dream Center
Or
on."
some connection, which has
Yeah,
been really cool.
cool,
Right.
good.
So, what is the Dream Center?
Well, it was established 15 years ago, right around there, where a church came into the city, and my dad's a pastor there at Riverside. And as the church was being planted and started, we saw two types of groups come into the church. There was a group that wanted to live for a cause, very missional minded, came on Sundays really to get fired up for the week so they could really impact their lives around them. But also the other crowd that were coming were people from the neighborhoods, people that were really in need. And as a church back then, we thought we need to do something. How could we engage the missional crowd to be able to impact folks that are coming not just to our church, but throughout this city? And so from there, a long story, but from there we had connections with the LA Dream Center, which is a huge organization that just impact families that are living in poverty. And so we couldn't copy what they were doing because it's LA, but we knew we could take some of the concepts. And so back then, they launched Center Peoria, which is basically we're designed to impact families living in poverty, starting with kids and youth. And our whole concept is if we can really impact kids and youth, we'll not only impact their lives, but we'll win the right to be able to speak into the parents' lives or the single mom or the grandparents. And so that's been our goal from day one, just trying to impact a city and not do it on our own. That's the big thing. We're not going to, reinvent the wheel. If people are doing it better than us, we're going to, blow wind in their sail. And so that's been really what we've done. And as we find need, we then try and meet that need.
Interesting. So you are a shelter then?
We have got multiple facets
Okay.
to Dream Center. There's three veins, what I'd say three veins that we really focus on. So we've got the basic human needs. So we have the only emergency shelter for women and children that is in Peoria. And when I say emergency, this is how it's defined. So there are a lot of great shelters in Peoria, but a lot of them, individuals have to go there, say at 5 o'clock, check in, and then come back because they've checked in.
Okay.
For ours, if a policeman sees a family at the side of the road at 2 a.m. in the morning or a lady at 3 a.m. in the morning, we're the only shelter that would take them in as an emergency overnight. Okay. So we have that element, but we never want to just do homelessness and shelters. We want to try and transition people back into life.
Sure.
So we have a homeless shelter. We have anywhere between 20 to 60 people there every night. Our average age is 10 years of age. So it shows a lot of single parent moms coming in with a lot of kids. We will take intact families. So if a family is, on the street, we'll take them in. And also fathers with kids. We just won't take single men just because that brings a whole different dynamic when you've got a lot of women on a floor. So that's who we take in. But our aim then is to move those individuals from that floor onto our transitional housing floors. We have 3 floors, 22 apartments, and folks can live there up to 2 years.
Oh.
We have caseworkers, social workers, we have different classes, budgeting, finding jobs, job readiness, that type of classes. And most of the ladies or the families that move into them floors are actually out within 6 months to 18 months. And, we're not just kicking them out, see ya. We're helping them in that process. So that's the basic human needs. We also have a clothing store called the Hope Store.
Okay.
That's open twice a month. Anyone can donate to that. and we give the clothing and household goods away. And so that helps with the homelessness and the housing. So that's our basic human need vein. Then we have what we call our community outreach vein. So they're more of the events that we do. So for instance, tomorrow, on Saturday, October 15th, we're doing a day called Mission Peoria One Day. This comes out of a week that we do every summer with young people, where we have about 300 to 400 young people that come from all over the country, and this is their missions trip for the year. And they stay for a week. They sleep at the Dream Center, and the girls are at the Dream Center, the guys are at the church, because there's a road in between. And but Mission Peoria has grown over the years, and it's basically this. In the morning, we do service projects throughout the city, over 15 different service projects, and the kids are split up into those groups. Then the afternoon, we do VBS, Vacation Bible School for kids, in those hard-hit areas. The kids that come to the missions trip are doing the whole thing. It's not adults are there and they're standing up. This is the kids doing it. We train them that week. And then at night, we do a huge youth rally, which is open to the community. And we have guest speakers from all around the area come in, and we have a great band doing worship. And that just inspires the kids ready for the next day. Yeah. Then from there, that goes on all week long, but it leads up to the Saturday, the last Saturday of July, which has now become Backpack Peoria Day. And that's where we heard a need 15 years ago of single-parent moms or grandparents that were not able to afford school supplies. And we thought back then, we can meet that need. That's easy. So we started with 300 bags loaded with school supplies, and they were gone within 20 minutes. So we knew we had a problem. So over the years, we've adapted Backpack Peoria to be an event where we don't just want it to be about the backpack. We want to be able to connect families in need with other organizations in this city. So it's grown to where now we're giving over 3,000 backpacks away every July. The line starts at 4:30 in the morning. The city have to shut down streets all around the Dream Center. And then from there, as people come in, we have 2 gymnasiums. Now, I'll talk a bit about how we got the building in a minute, because that's a crazy story. But in the building that we've got, we have 2 gymnasiums. Wow. The first gymnasium, we will have 30, 40 different nonprofits there, and they're just having a booth like an expo. Also, we have every school represented from District 150 in there. And they've told us that this sometimes is the only time they will meet some of the parents for the whole year. Sure. And so we have all them there. Then we have a dental exams going on, medical exams going on, and then the last thing that the kids get is the backpack. But our aim is to connect people. So no one can get a backpack until they've gone to 5 different booths and got information about what is in Peoria. And a lot of the ladies, it's majority of ladies that we work with that are moms, they have no idea what's in town because, you know, they've got 2 or 3 jobs. They don't have a car. They can't drive around to find out what's going on. So we bring everyone to them that day. And so that's just one of many community outreaches we do. So I mentioned Mission Peoria. We got a complaint this year from a lot of adults because we would have probably 300 adults that would help volunteer that whole week, feeding kids, taking people around town to different service projects. And they said, could we have a Mission Peoria for adults? So I had just come back into town, into the leadership of Dream Center, and I started thinking about the idea. And so this weekend we're doing this first Mission Peoria One Day. We are test marking it with Riverside because they're still the home church. And so we've got over 400 people signed up for this Saturday. Wow. We'll have 22 different sites throughout this community and a few surprises along the way. So we're going to send all these guys out and do these service projects. Then at night, we have a huge worship rally. There's a worship band called Leland, and they're from the Bethel worship scene. Wow. And so that's going to be a free worship night at Riverside this Saturday night at 7. So they'll be in doing that. So we haven't done the VBS element for this first time round. We're just going to do the service project, and then our whole thing is serve hard, then worship hard. And so that's how we're trying to get this first one launched. And then in the spring, we'll branch out to other churches. I mean, if we can get 400 from Riverside,
wow,
you know, I mean, we could get literally over 1,000 from different churches altogether, impacting the city in one day. So that's the community outreach, and we got many others that we do, but they're the big highlight ones. And then the final one is youth development. And so we have what you would consider an after-school program for a lot of the kids that we work with, over 60 kids. But from that, we don't just want to be a babysitting service. And so we've created a lot of programs within it that are really pushing some of the kids that we see to think outside of poverty. How could we create something as a dream center to be a way out of poverty? And so we've done that through business. So some of the things that we've done, we have a coffee business. And the aim is to teach kids all different elements of a business. It could be, you know, any type of business. We've just chosen coffee because 3030 is next door to our building. We can work with them and other coffee companies. But it's teaching kids everything from budgeting, marketing, sales, the history behind coffee, grinding, roasting, you name it, they do it as a coffee business. And so we're really early into this, but we've got this little coffee company going, and it's teaching kids a way out of poverty through business. They can, you know, they could be there and enjoy the marketing side of it. Mm-hmm. So then we can connect them with people in town that are doing marketing, or it might be the budgetary side, or it might be the actual coffee side. The first group we ever did a couple of years ago, there was 10 kids, and I threw one of my kids into the mix, and he was the only one that had ever been in a coffee shop. So sure. 9 of the kids from the inner city had never been into a Starbucks, never been into a 3030, and so we were broadening their horizons in so many ways. Mm-hmm. And so the youth development program is really, not, like I said, not just a babysitting service, but we really want to teach these kids, and we have a great program. We have a summer camp that goes on with it, and we have a creative arts school called Freedom Arts, teaching kids different arts, because a lot of that's been taken out of the schools. And so we want to bring a community back in to be able to help these kids. So they're the 3 veins. Sorry, that was a long answer,
no, that's good. You are multifaceted. I can hear Stacy's big heart ticking from here. She's going, how can I get involved? How can I get involved? How many volunteers do you have operating this?
Well, let's go on the staff side. We have 5 full-time guys that are doing this work, and then we have about 10 part-time guys because of the overnight shelters and things like that. So we have a very small staff. And we probably have about 300 volunteers or more a month just coming in and helping. It depends on the month. The great thing with Mission Peoria, the week that we do backpack, we have those 300 kids that can pull off Backpack Peoria there's over 5,000 people that come through the doors that morning. So, you know, we try and leverage events to be able to pull off different things. The hardest thing for us is finding people really for the after-school program. Because it's, 2:30 in the afternoon to 5:30 or 6. A lot of people are working. So that would be probably the hardest time to get people to help, but very rewarding.
So if somebody's interested in volunteering,
yeah,
how do they do that?
The easiest way, is to go to dreamcenterpeoria.org. Right now, the site is being rebuilt, but there's a one-page website, and they just click on to volunteer. A page will appear, and they can just sign in. We'll get in touch with them very quickly.
So do they have to do like a background check and fill out?
It all depends. Sure. It all depends what they're involved in. So, The after school programs, yes, they have to
Dealing
be
with kids.
background checked. But if it's an event like, Mission Peoria one day, or we do an event called Promise of Hope, where we provide prom dresses for high school girls that can't afford prom dresses.
Sure.
And we do the whole makeup and accessories and everything else. A night like that, it's more, you can come and just be a part of the evening. So it just depends. And on the volunteer form, people have to mark what they want to be a part of, and
Sure.
then we can say, well, you need to be background checked or not. So
So as far as the prom dresses, do people donate those prom dresses?
those are crazy. The way it came about was crazy. So we have this Hope store that is open twice a month, and we started getting like bridesmaids dresses, prom dresses, and so we got a few, and we went and got them cleaned. Well, one of the cleaners in town that we went to, they said, "Oh, we've got like hundreds of these dresses. People get them cleaned, but they don't pick them up."
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's crazy. So anyway, over the last 4 years we've been doing it, we have over 1,000 dresses at the Dream Center, and they dry clean them for us and then bring them in.
Wow.
So when these girls come in, I mean, they get to choose from a massive selection. So that's how, so yeah, we do take them, but we've got a lot. But our building is so that we can store quite a bit.
I remember somebody saying something about a coat drive. Do you guys do coats for the gentlemen that come in, or
Yeah, we
families?
every December through March, really. I mean, that's one of our biggest needs is coats, hats, scarves, gloves, really for the homeless that come in. So anytime, that's a huge, huge thing for us.
I love your Peoria accent. It just
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us your story. How did you get started in all this?
Man, well, I came, my dad is the senior pastor at Riverside, and before that, he was asked to go and be the pastor in Washington, Illinois at Faith Christian Center, which is now Faith Church.
Yep.
And I was actually in Australia at the time doing a youth program, youth missions program, and I had the choice to either go back to England, stay in Australia doing youth pastoring, or come over with Dad. And I was 20 at the time, and so I thought, if I don't come now, I've got to go through a lot of red tape to get in after 21. And I truly felt it was the right move for me to come. So I came, and Dad went onto the church. I worked at the church for a year, setting up the same youth program that I was setting up in Australia over here. And then after that, I just felt like I needed to, this is going to sound crazy, but I needed to get out of the church bubble. That in the States, it is so different from the UK. The UK, there's less than 1% that go to church once a year. And that's not every week. That's just once a year, 1%.
Wow.
So all my friends in England, I had church friends, but the majority were people outside the church. And that was my mission field. And I just felt I needed to step back into that world. And so I remember walking into the mall. First store I came to at Northwoods was Pearl Vision. And walked in. I think they thought my accent was cool because they hired me right on the spot. Like, oh, you could sell anything because you got a weird accent. and so I walked in, got the job. And then from there, for the next few years, worked my way up in the optical industry to where I was selling eyewear for one of the national companies, became one of the national sales reps of the year for Nordica and Coach eyewear. And then it was at that time that God said, all right, now I'm ready for you to go back into work. And that's where I then applied for the Dream Center position. And I was there for 12 years or so. Last couple of years, I was then working for my dad as his associate at Riverside. And then a crazy turn was this year, I was asked to go and be a part of the Crosspoint team in Nashville, Tennessee, where it's a church of around 9,000 people, but they have 4 dream centers, and we're looking to expand, and they had seen what we had done here. And So I went down there, and it was an amazing time. I mean, it was a really good time with those guys. But back home here, we had some health issues happening in our family, and it unsettled us a little bit. And at that time, we did not know what was going on up here. But Matt, who was the executive director of Dream Center then, stepped down. And so the board from Dream Center called me and said, "Would you want to come back?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're ready." And so that's how it all happened, and a bit of my story. And it's actually a Texas accent. I
Okay.
I put the English one on.
Yeah, I got that. So there's multiple dream centers. You talked about Nashville before we started. You talked about L.A.
Yeah. So LA is the big one. I mean, they bought the old LA hospital. So it would be like OSF. Okay, so we're talking a massive 15-story building. Around the Dream Center in LA, there's within a 5-mile radius, there's 40,000 homeless people. So they're right by Skid Row, so their ministry looks completely different to ours. The one in Nashville looks completely different to ours, because the Dream Center was designed to meet the need of the community around it. And so there's over 300 Dream Centers throughout the world. They're not all like our building. I don't know, I'll go into the story if that's okay about how we got the building. But
sure.
I want to know about the Jesus is.
Jesus is, yeah. A lot of people ask about that. So, when we started Dream Center, in fact, when they started Riverside, the old YMCA building was up for sale, and that's what we're in now. Mm-hmm. And it was up for $4 million at that time. The church looked at it for a church building, but just didn't feel like church at all. Like, we couldn't even convert it. It felt like a health club. So the church ended up at the old Shrine Mosque on Monroe. That's where Riverside is. And that building sat for another 4 years. In that 4 years, I came on as the executive director. And to be honest, I got fed up with doing ministry everywhere but our own place. We were in parks, we were in other nonprofits, other churches, and we didn't have our own Dream Center. And so I remember walking in to our board and saying, "You know what? I think we need to go for the why." And they're like, "Yeah, but it's a big building and it's this and that." I said, let's just talk to them. So I called them up, and at that point the price had come from $4 million to $1.4 million, which we still didn't have, but it's better than $4 million.
Right.
And so we started talking to the guy on the phone from the Y and said, "I'm really interested in buying the building." And he started to laugh. And he said, "It's really weird you would call today, because you've called and Methodist Hospital have called, but no one has called on this building in over 9 months."
Wow.
So I said, "Well, why don't we get together with Methodist and you guys and us, and let's just talk it out?" Because, I mean, it'd been on the market for 4 years, so, they're willing to do anything, the Y were. So we met in one of the rooms at the Dream Center, and I just shared my heart for the city, for the poor and the broken, and really being a catalyst for other churches to get involved to impact a city. And so I got done, and then I looked at the guy at Methodist and said, "What would you do with the building?" And he said, "I will knock it down. We don't need the building." Mm-hmm. So I said, "Well, why are we meeting then?" And he said, "Well, what we want is the parking lot across the street that is part of this property." Okay, so there's Methodist Hospital, there's the big parking lot that's there now. Yeah. But back then, they were looking at how to expand Methodist.
Right.
And the new entrance is actually in from Hamilton now, right in front of the Dream Center. And so what they were concerned at was whoever bought this building would put something on that one part of the parking lot. They own 2/3. The last third, which is about the size of a football field, was part of this property.
Okay.
So I said, "Okay, we need the building. We can do without the parking. We can work with First United Methodist Church. We can create our own parking on site." I said, we want the building. You want the parking lot. Out of the $1.4 million, what do you want to pay for the parking lot? And they said, "We'll pay $1.2 million."
Wow.
So we bought the building, which is 140,000 square foot. It's got 8 racquetball courts, 2 gymnasiums. It's got countless classrooms. We converted the swimming pool into an auditorium for over 400 people. So we did all of that. Cost us $200,000. We went to a few churches in one weekend. We raised that money. We've put over $3 million into it, and we've never gone to the bank. We've just done it by donations, people stepping up, churches stepping up, individuals, businesses, organizations, and so yeah, it's been a crazy ride, because now we could do ministry and not have to do it in a park. We could bring them into a gym, or we can do a basketball program, or the Hope Store. All these programs we now have home for. And so the Jesus Is sign really was inspired by a book that I read by a guy called Judah Smith out of Seattle called Jesus Is.
Okay.
And depending on who's asking it, the question, it's either a question or a statement. And we wanted that across the city of Peoria. Like, Jesus is my healer, friend, or Jesus is, I don't know. And that's okay, as long as people find out who Jesus is. And we have had so many people walk into our building just wanting to find out who Jesus is. And so that's why we put it up there. We didn't want it to be a statement that was in someone's face. We want it to be more of a question, but also could be a statement for someone of faith.
Sure.
And so that's a bit of the story behind that.
I love it.
What an amazing story. It's just sometimes God calls us and sometimes we don't step.
Right.
And I think you started with that step. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So what other things you have so much that you guys do. Are there other things that you guys do?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of stuff that unpacks with the community programs, community outreach programs. One of the big things for us, we've noticed it a lot, especially in the last probably 4 years, people starting to really understand what we do. I mean, it's 4 years ago yesterday that we took on the housing. Okay. And so I think when that happened, people realized, man, these guys really mean business. This is 24/7, every day of the year. These guys are doing something. The hard thing for us, it's a $1.4 million budget. So to keep everything going all the time, that's one of the biggest areas I think I've seen people step into is, hey, we don't want the Dream Center to do a fundraiser. We'll go and do one for you. Like Brett Beechler, who is on this show a lot, he biked with his daughter from Peoria to Green Bay and raised $1,400 for the Dream Center. Like, I was like, you're crazy. I'm not getting on a bike, but yeah, he will. You know what I mean?
Right.
So now we challenge kids next year to go with him, and they're going to raise even more. Do you see what I mean?
Wow.
So that's
Very
the type
cool.
of thing that we really need help with.
So what other things do you need right now? If somebody wants to help, whether it's monetarily or food, if you're a shelter, then you possibly have a pantry that you need food for, and or specific needs right now. What's out there? What do you need?
The best way is to get on the website and just see what's out there. Volunteers are always needing.
Okay.
Just because of the amount of work we do.
Sure.
So that's the big thing, is really volunteer, because when volunteers step up, they'll see the need, and then from there, then we can meet those needs, and so that's really been the best way for people to get connected to the Dream Center.
So what's the website again?
DreamCenterPeoria.org.
Great. We're here with Andy King of Dream Center Peoria. Thanks so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, guys.